So hello, welcome. We recently launched Pieces LTM 2.5, and we are really excited to talk about it. I am Ellie, I'm a developer advocate at Pieces, and I am here with Sam Jones, hopefully to my right, but maybe he's to my left. Sam, could you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely, it's a pleasure, Ellie. So I am the Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer at Pieces. I've been in AI quite a while. My sort of specialist interests, I guess, are graph neural networks and taking very large models, making them very small and very effective, and running them super fast.
Amazing. Sounds very interesting. And what we are actually going to be talking about in this video is nano models. That is the topic of this interview slash video slash talking with Sam moment. So I'm very excited. I am a total noob about nano models. So hopefully I leave this and become a genius. And I could put on my LinkedIn skills, knows about nano models.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I did mention, so we just released, as of the video, when this video goes out, we have already released LTM 2.5. So I wanted to ask you, what are you most excited about with the LTM 2.5 release?
So the sort of really exciting thing about the LTM is being able to chat to any AI you like and having all of this context from, the work you've been doing, what's been up recently, available to that LLM. I think one of the huge advantages or the huge benefits of this new model that we're pushing is that memory is a lot easier to access, and it's going to be much easier to find what you want. And so that's part of it. On a technical side, I'm really excited with what we're doing with these nano models. So over the last, I think, 9 months at Pieces, we've come across some excellent techniques to be able to take the performance of a very, very large model and scope it down to a tiny model. And as long as that tiny model is focused on a very singular task, a very repetitive task, we can actually get performance out of that beats these larger models. Now, they've been on our stack for a while. With the LTM 2.5, what we're doing is getting all of these small models to play together. So when you interact with our app, you're going to kick off this chain or network effect amongst all these tiny models. And the result is going to be your experience interacting with your Pieces memories and everything you've got stored there and everything you've picked up is going to be much better than if we were doing the same thing with large language models. So I think, like, from a product point of view, I'm really excited about all of our users being able to get deep into the memory, explore it, and have sort of better access there. And from a technical point of view, this release kind of proves out a lot of the hypotheses we've been working on at Pieces. Yeah.
Very cool. Because I do think a lot of people, have heard of large language models, and maybe some people, maybe not all people, have heard about small language models recently. But I think nano models is something that, as someone who's on social media a lot, people don't really talk about. So that's why I'm really excited to talk about that with you today. We're just going to get into the questions about Pieces nano models. And all right, what exactly are nano models first? Can you just give us a quick definition for people who don't know what nano models are?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, like, in my mind, a nano model is a very good single task learner. So it's doing one thing. It's doing it very, very fast. So I think some of our fastest models execute in 3 or 4 milliseconds. And it's doing it on the edge in low resource environments, by which I mean these things should be able to work on, like, your phone from 3 years ago. And you shouldn't need a GPU to be able to access all of these cool sort of LLM effects.
That's awesome. So we've had some Windows users being like, oh, it's a little bit slow. So do you think this is going to help with, the speed and having, Pieces be able to operate on maybe different types of Windows machines?
Absolutely. So I think when you try to build, like, complex systems on top of a cloud language model, this means you have to make sort of several calls. right? And I don't like everyone's used ChatGPT at the moment. It takes a while for the response to come back, like in computing terms, for that thing to finish, for the message to finish, you're talking like 30 seconds to a minute potentially on some of the later models. And what that means is if you want to tie these into like an agentic stack or get models playing off each other or feeding into each other, every time you make a call, you have to wait for that wire time. So potentially the wait is just huge. With these micro models, all of those calls are being executed like faster than you can blink. And so the impact is if everything works well, you've got similar or better accuracy for the tasks you want than the cloud LLM, and things are moving very fast. So it means you can chain all these together. And yeah, I think that's what I'm really excited about micro models. From like a organizational standpoint as well. If I want to go out there and I want to train like a 500 million parameter model or a multi-billion parameter model, that takes a huge amount of time. And then you become very invested in that model. So it becomes hard to move, hard to change, hard to iterate, hard to innovate, and requires a lot of engineering resources. Our current stack, we can kick out, we can go from inception through data generation to training this model in under 24 hours. And that's not just training one, it's training like a full 300-400 model training stack. And so in 24 hours, you can repopulate all of your models, and the impact is we can iterate very quickly on how things work together. So what would take a 20-person team maybe like 3 months to do, our team of 5 can do in a couple of days. Yeah.
Very cool. So what are the nano models that we are adding to pieces?
Good question. So these are mainly models that sit within the LTM and sit within the Copilot. So what they're generally doing is extracting metadata, extracting links, trying to work out what your intention is when you're interacting with this data. It's easy to underestimate how much data is flowing through pieces. So I think like in a week, you're very easily hitting a couple of 100,000 of events. In a month, you're close to 1 million. And roll out to a year and we're getting tens of millions. And so being able to find what is relevant to you amongst all that data is super hard. It's super hard. Now, our kind of big intuition behind these models is things like, you see your front door and your neighbor's front door about the same number of times. But if you ask me what color my neighbor's front door was, I wouldn't have a clue, right? I know mine, don't know my neighbor's, see them both at the same time. And so the problem is the same, right? I know the color of my front door because it's deeply connected with like my emotional life, what I'm doing, and with my life. My neighbor's less so. And so what these micro models are going to do is are doing is make those connections, they play the role of reinforcing what is the useful data and surfacing it properly, alongside some agentic, cool stuff where we work out your intention and flow that in as well. So that's kind of the purpose of these micro models. I think this release will have 11 or 12 of them, and yeah, that's what they'll do.
Very cool. So I'm not sure about this, but are the micro models like you get them from somewhere else? Because when I think of LLMs or AI models, I think of like OpenAI, GPT-4,
Yeah.
O3, DeepSeek, stuff like that. Are you getting these micro models from somewhere else, or did Pieces actually create nano models in-house?
So bit of both, I guess. It's one of these things. So like all of software, right? There's a big open source movement. And a lot of these models, even the tiny ones, require quite a lot of training. And so what we do is we take open source models, well licensed, and then in-house we fine tune them. And this basically saves us a couple of days. Yeah, I would say they're like 90% created by Pieces, if that makes
very
sense.
cool. Very cool. So I learned something. That is very cool.
And you kind of have to do it that way, right? Because if you think, I can't remember how big are the most recent OpenAI models. It's like tens of trillions of parameters, something like this, sitting on massive server arrays and all the rest of it. The models we're using to beat performance of, ChatGPT 4.0 and all of that stuff are like hundreds of factors of 10 smaller. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking like 100 million parameters or 80 million parameters as opposed to trillions. Yeah. And so that means we can train a whole load of them. Yeah.
Right. And that's awesome. And a lot of people I know, since AI has become a thing, have been talking about how, large language models are very resource intensive and are like killing the planet and everything. Do you
Yep.
think that this is also part of why, nano models could be really big in the future, or even are starting to get really popular?
I hope so. I think like there's no reason to use a massive cloud model to do a very simple task, but lots of people do that, and I think, yeah, absolutely, there's a like ethical case to be made there to move to smaller models. I mean, there's no point killing penguins because you want, like, I don't know, ChatGPT 4.0 to tell you a joke, is there? Yeah.
Right. We need a nano model to tell us jokes. And I think Grammarly has, built-in AI. I'm not really sure what they're using on the back end of that, but I feel like, they should be using some nano models to
They
correct our
should.
grammar instead of, whatever it is, ChatGPT 4.0 or something.
Yeah.
So definitely, hopefully, nano models are going to be big. But do you think that they are the next big thing that people are going to be talking about? Because it's really early on right now. So what do you think? Your
I
prediction
think
for the
we're very early on, and I think we're right at the start of what can be done to like take a lot to imitate the sort of abilities of these larger models on small tasks. There are a number of like challenges that are involved with getting these things to work together, but I think honestly it's a no-brainer. I think as long as I think 90% of people working in software, if you tell them, look, this will do the same job, it's cheaper, it's faster, and you don't have to ping an API, I think everyone wants that. So yeah, I think they're going to be huge. I think we'll see fewer and fewer calls to these large, massive language models and more offloading tasks to the smaller micro models. And especially if you think beyond like the sort of single personal user and think about large organizations. A lot of organizations have sort of billions or tens of billions of data points hitting their servers every hour, every day. It's just impossible to do anything with that data at the sort of cloud model size. But if you've got things executing in like a couple of milliseconds on a CPU, it suddenly becomes possible to do a lot of filtering of that data, and that's incredibly valuable. So yeah, I'm sure because of like financial sense, the technology is maturing and save the penguins. I think it's going to be a big thing.
Amazing. So nano models, the next big thing.
Nanobots,
Prediction
yes.
from CAIO.
Heard it here
Is
first. Yeah.
Okay, so on that note, I was wondering, so is there something that we used to use large language models for at pieces that we've now switched to nano models, and that have actually, changed the way that we process something or do some sort of task within pieces? Could you
Yeah,
explain
like
that?
almost everything that we can, we switch to another model, right?
Wow.
Like there's a slight kind of strategic thing, which is like as soon as you move away from a cloud model into a local model, you've then got to keep it up to date. You've got to keep retraining it. There's a whole engineering effort there. So our usual strategy is do something with the cloud. As soon as we've got a nice stable product, switch it over to a micro model and save ourselves money and latency.
Very cool. So pretty much everything is switching to nano models. I guess we'll
Pretty
see
much
what other
everything.
companies.
That would be
Yeah.
my ideal world. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
I
mean, of
mean, I
course,
guess
like
we'll see.
the more you've got executing on these tiny local things, the less data you need to share, and the better the privacy and all the rest of it for everybody.
Oh, cool. So everybody's getting a privacy upgrade as well with these nano models. I did not know about that, but I'm sure people will be very excited to hear about it. So I feel like a lot of the questions I'm going to ask, you sort of cover them in other answers, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyways. So why is Pieces now getting really big on nano models? Because even internally at Pieces, like I haven't heard much about nano models until this release. And now we are like, woo, nano models. We are
Yes.
coming out with a bunch of nano models. And I'm like, huh, what's that? So I'm wondering like, why now? And why are these smaller models becoming more valuable?
I think because it's only become possible to do this well within the last couple of months, potentially. We've been training small language models for a long time. I think two things sort of accelerated us here. So one is we found excellent techniques to do really good data generation from large open source models. So that means we've got great data to feed these small language models. And the other thing is we brought on some incredible talent. So we recently hired ex-Google Mind engineer. He's deeply involved in training these kind of super small models and has this sort of world-class kind of research view. And he was able to share a lot of really incredible techniques with the team. And so I think it's those two things. It's one, being at the right place at the right time, and also with the right people. And I think we've moved first here, but I think it's going to be something that's going to be huge. And I know we're already having conversations with a lot of companies about how this technology can really help them and save lots of people a lot of money. So yeah, I think that's why now this is the first time we've been able to sort of get this performance at this model size. Yeah.
Okay, so would you say Pieces is sort of in the, what is it, if you're in a race and you're in the front, like, do you think Pieces is really jumping on this faster than other people are?
I haven't heard in my network of many people using these things in the same way we have. So even I think like even Andreas, our new hire, he was shocked at the level of accuracy we could get from these things. So I think it's this combination. It's 4 years of me, my team, Pieces, training ML models and putting them on the edge. It's this kind of, we're right at the right point in terms of data generation. It's skills coming in, but I'd agree. I think if anyone else is out there doing this kind of stuff, please get in touch. I'd love to talk to you about it.
Yeah, definitely get in touch with Sam, get in touch with me. I'll have links below this. So we'll get you in touch with the right people. If you're obsessed with nano models as much as Sam is, then we want to talk to you. So the next question is, was there a specific bottleneck or moment that you or the Pieces team were like, we need nano models right now. We need to make this transition?
Yeah, I think basically when at any point, if you're designing like an effective agent or an effective LLM system that's executing super fast, you're just going to grow very tired of paying the wire time of hitting large cloud models, and then you're going to get very poor. So yeah, we needed to go faster than hitting the cloud models would allow us. We needed to we need to just, everybody wants to save cash, right? The more resources you have, the further they go. And we thought that was best spent on model development as opposed to cloud LLM costs. And then finally, just like autonomy. So I think a lot of startups out there and a lot of companies are very reliant on, and more so on these like LLM APIs. And we just want a bit of autonomy from that. We don't want the fate of Pieces necessarily to be tied to these large LLM providers. So I think, you've got these quite like atomic kind of tactical bottlenecks, and then also this wider sort of strategic push. We want Pieces, we want the full spectrum of features at Pieces to be running on device fully locally. We can't do that if we're reliant on the cloud. We want autonomy. We can't do that if we have this deep reliance. And so I think it makes sense, yeah, from a lot of angles.
So speaking of running locally, a lot of people have been asking whether Workstream activities are going to be, available locally. Is that coming out with this new release, LTM 2.5, or not yet?
So it's a good question. And I know, like me, my entire team are right there with you guys. Like, we'd love that to happen. We got very excited about the prospect of making Pieces a lot better with these micro models, and so we went there first. But it's going to be fully local. Give us 3 months here, and we'll have the whole thing running locally.
Amazing. I'm excited. I know a lot of people are excited about that because some people are like 100% local, no cloud, get out of here, clouds.
I totally understand that, and it needs, it's a big ask. I think we're very, very close. We're working in partnership with Microsoft to run our entire stack locally on their new MPU laptops. Personally, I have like staging builds and testing builds where I'm running everything locally. It's hard to do. We do a lot of stuff, but we are exceedingly close right now. There's one more unknown, and once that's done, I promise you.
All right. Well, we are all excited about that. All right. One more question. Actually, there's two. I lied. Two more questions. But are there any insights you could share on how you actually added these nano models into Pieces OS? Like for anyone maybe building or working with nano models themselves, maybe on their own projects, could you share like an insight on how you actually did that?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the recipe for baking a good nano model.
Okay. That's what we want to know, the recipe.
Yes, here it is. Step 1, find a task, make it a simple one and a repetitive one. So something that's sort of too hard to do, heuristically, but with low variety. So it's like, I want all of my StreamYard kind of links to be tagged, for example, something like that. Same thing again and again and again. That's step 1. Step 2, get a very large open source model, generate some data based on the task. Step 3, take your tiny model, push all the data through it, do all your ML tricks. Step 4, put it into production. That's it.
Very cool. So do you have any ideas for like if somebody did want to work with nano models and make a couple projects or something? Do you have like a specific idea that pops into your mind that would be like a cool project? And then if you saw that project as like someone hiring, maybe a junior developer or someone that wants to get into ML, you'd be like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I mean, any NLP task on a model that's less than 80 million parameters, I think that's a micro model. If you get it working effectively, accelerate it so it's better than a cloud model, and make sure it's fairly stable. That's impressive.
Very cool. Well, hopefully we'll see some very cool nano model projects soon. But
I'm hoping so. Yeah, and if people are interested, get in touch. We're always looking to hire more people.
Definitely reach out. You could reach out ellie@pieces.app or maybe marketing@pieces.app. I don't know if the marketing people will answer, but I will. So definitely you reach out, or Twitter, you can DM us. And I think on LinkedIn, you can actually send DMs now. So I don't know for sure.
There we go. Finally.
Yeah. DM, well, you could do it on LinkedIn forever, but we had LinkedIn DMs turned off on the Pieces profile for a while. I guess we were getting some weird scam stuff, but they're turned back on. So if you want to message us, you can. All right. All right. I have a final question and then a bonus question. Okay, so if you could go back to the start of adding nano models into Pieces, or even just to the beginning of Pieces when it was just a snippet saver, what would you do differently after seeing how the nano models are performing right now? I know you said it's only been, the last couple months where this could be really possible, but if what now, would you do anything different?
It's a huge question. It's a very huge question. I'm There's always small things, right? There's always like, oh, I wish I'd found that sooner, or I wish I'd done better there, or maybe we didn't need to focus so much on that feature and do this instead. But I think those kind of comments sort of really like ignore the journey, and I think we wouldn't be here now at the forefront of what we're doing without all of those twists and turns. So I would be exceedingly hesitant to change anything in my past or in my past at pieces that would lead to this moment, because I think we really have we're really at the start of something really cool here, and I think if that took a lot of twists and turns and challenges and missteps, so be it. I'm happy to be where we are.
That is true. I guess even in life, something that is really bad that happens to you or around you could end up being something really good in the future. I don't know if you've ever heard this. There's like a Chinese proverb. It's this old man, he lost his horse, and then he says like, good news, bad news, who knows. The story is I don't remember the entire story, but basically, have you heard that before?
I do. I understand. Like, it's basically good news, bad news. Who knows
Yeah,
until what, right? See, these
exactly.
things twist and turn.
Yeah.
But yeah, before getting too philosophical, I'm very happy with where we are, and it's been quite a journey. I tell you that.
Yeah, I think so too. Just I've been at Pieces actually for like a year this month, so I've seen
Hey,
a lot of crazy
congratulations!
things. Yeah, sure. Woo, woo. I've seen a lot of changes throughout the
Yeah.
1 year. So I know how much things change, and I think one thing that's really cool about working at Pieces is that like when we want to pivot, we just pivot. We're like, all right, this is the new thing that we want to work on, and this is the problem that we want to solve. And we just go into that direction. So it's very cool. All right, this is the last bonus question. I got to ask, it's the hot topic of the internet. Is AI is AI going to replace all developers? And will we all be jobless?
I think so. My granddad was a developer in his later years. My parents too. If you took what they did when they were developers and compared it to what we do now as developers, I think it'd be unrecognizable. I think the job, it would be impossible for me to go back and work out how to like punch the cards and stick them into the machine and all of this stuff from early computing. But at the time, that was a developer, right? Um, and so I think, will a developer's role and a developer's job always be the same? No, I don't think so. And I think a lot of us probably don't want that. I think it's exciting. I think one of the best things about tech is the job is constantly changing and what you do and your roles and all the rest of it, right? And that's the churn. That's what sort of bubbles up all this great innovation. And so, yeah, I always think these questions are a bit disingenuous, right? Will AI change what being a developer is and what we can do? Absolutely. Will there never be any developers? Of course not, because what will happen is the role will change. And AI is, in my view, should be about empowering people as opposed to making them defunct. And I think it's still up in the air. What's going to happen, right? No one knows the future. Is it good news? Is it bad news? As we said, but I'm fighting, and I know a lot of people are doing, for a future where AI is about empowering people as opposed to making them smaller.
All right, well, you heard it here first, folks. The chief AI officer said that we're going to empower people with AI, so don't worry too much. But you need to learn about AI, otherwise, yeah, that would be bad, right?
And do it
I
with pieces.
do
Yeah.
do it with pieces. Do it with pieces. I think that probably you'll be okay if you do learn about AI and you do use it. I think if you're one of those people that are like, no AI is evil, then yeah, maybe you might have some problems. But yeah, as long as you're learning the things that are coming up in the world, then you should be all okay. So anyway, I just want to say thank you very much, Sam Jones, Chief AI Officer at Pieces. Would you
Thank you,
like to say
Ellie.
any final notes to the world, to Pieces lovers out there?
No, I thought that was a great chat. I thought it was a great chat. But please, please, please download Pieces, play with our micro models. Tell me what you think. There's some really, really exciting things happening now. And Ellie, anytime you want to chat, just let me know. It's always a pleasure.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And tell all the other engineers that interviews are fun and that they should come. But yeah, download Pieces. The link is below this video right now. And there's cool links like long-term memory. Probably there's a link to our new release. And probably there's a link to a blog post about this chat. I'm going to be taking some of the cool things Sam said and turning them into a blogified version, so you can actually just read it if you don't want to watch us talk for 34 minutes. That's not that long. It's not even going to be 34 minutes. It's going to be like 30 minutes. Come on, just stick around.
That was spot on as well.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, thank you very much, Sam. We're going to end this. Goodbye, everyone. Go download Pieces.